broad-spectrum disinfectant kills 99.9% of disease-causing germs and works in 10 minutes.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles. You're watching Eagle News International. Good evening, CJ.
Good evening, Alma, and good evening to everyone joining the broadcast. Here are tonight's headlines.
The distribution of financial assistance in areas under enhanced community quarantine will experience delays due to the imposition of health protocols.
The chairman of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Yu-Sung Lee, says that it is indisputable that human activities are causing climate change and calls for a sharp, rapid, and sustainable reduction in greenhouse gas emissions to limit global warming.
And firefighters are trying to prevent fires from reaching key communities and a thick forest that could fuel an inferno that one official said has destroyed hundreds of homes in 7 days on the Greek island of Evia.
And the Philippines became the best performing ASEAN country in the Tokyo Olympics.
First, we go to the climate. The chairman of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Yu-Sung Lee, said that it is indisputable that human activities are causing climate change and calls for a sharp, rapid, and sustainable reduction in greenhouse gas emissions to limit global warming. Let's listen in.
It is indisputable that human activities are causing climate change and making extreme weather events more frequent and severe. Second, it shows that climate change is affecting every region on our planet. And lastly, it explains that strong, rapid, sustained reductions in carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions would be required to limit global warming.
What is clear from this report is that unless there are immediate, strong, rapid, and large-scale reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius will be beyond reach. The report shows that in the next 20 years, global warming, the average temperature at the Earth's surface over a period of 20 years, is expected to reach or exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above the late 1800s.
That warming we have already experienced has far-reaching consequences. Climate change is contributing to increase in extreme heat, heavy precipitation event, and the drought.
The main conclusions of this report is that climate change is getting worse and it's coming down the track faster than expected. And I think that, as we know, the Paris Agreement in 2015 agreed that countries should keep temperatures below a global average of 2 degrees C, aiming for 1.5. What this report is showing is basically the time window that we've got to meet that commitment that was made at Paris is getting shorter. All of these things the scientists are saying are more likely and are more extreme and will occur more frequently the more emissions that we put into the atmosphere. They're far more certain about the human impact on these extreme events than they were, say, 7 or 8 years ago. Scientists can publish these reports, but ultimately the action has to be led by governments. The G20, which is the world's biggest countries, have a commitment now, must have a commitment now, to cut emissions in half by 2030. A lot of these big countries, China, as I said, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Australia, they have not yet put more ambitious plans on the table.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change bombshell landing 90 days before a key climate summit desperate to keep 1.5 degrees Celsius in play says the threshold will be breached around 2050 no matter how aggressively humanity draws down carbon pollution. Years in the making, the sobering report, approved by 195 nations, shines a harsh spotlight on governments dithering in the face of mounting evidence that climate change is an existential threat. Even if the 1.5 degrees Celsius target humanity is now poised to overshoot, is miraculously achieved, it would still generate heat waves, rainfall, drought, and other extreme weather unprecedented in the observational record, it concluded.
Meanwhile, the monstrous Dixie Fire in Northern California has grown to become the second largest wildfire in state history, according to authorities on Sunday, with 3 people reported missing and thousands fleeing the advancing flames. On Saturday, Governor Gavin Newsom visited the charred remains of Greenville. Take a look.
At the end of the day, though, we also have to acknowledge this. The dries are getting a lot drier, and the heat and hot weather is a lot hotter than it's ever been. The extreme weather conditions, extreme droughts are leading to extreme conditions and wildfire challenges, likes of which we've never seen in our history. And as a consequence, we need to acknowledge just straight up, these are climate-induced wildfires.
As of Sunday, the fire had destroyed 489,287 acres or 198,007 hectares, according to authorities, up from the previous day's 447,723 acres. It now covers an area larger than Los Angeles. The Dixie Blaze is the largest active wildfire in the United States, but only one of 11 major wildfires in California. Over the weekend, it surpassed the 2018 Mendocino Complex fire to make it the second worst fire in state history. The Dixie Fire has already destroyed about 400 structures, gutting Greenville, and CAL FIRE said workers and equipment were being deployed to save homes in the small town of Crescent Mills, 3 miles of Greenville. More than 5,000 personnel are now battling the Dixie Blaze. By late July, the number of acres burned in California was up more than 250% from 2020 itself, the worst year of wildfires in the state's modern history.
Meanwhile, firefighters are trying to prevent fires from reaching key communities and a thick forest that could fuel an inferno that one official said has destroyed hundreds of homes in 7 days on the Greek island of Evia. Hundreds of people have already fled the island and another 349 were taken to safety early on Sunday. Let's listen in.
Είμαστε παρατημένοι στο έλεος του Θεού. Ό,τι μπορεί κάνει ο κόσμος μόνος του, με ίδια μέσα. Ο κρατικός μηχανισμός δυστυχώς απουσιάζει. Εδώ μας κάψανε ένα παράδεισο. Ένα παράδεισο αγώνα μας κάψανε εδώ πέρα. Τα τομάρια.
Firefighters were putting the priority on saving the villages of Kamatriades and Galatsades on Monday because if the fire passes through there, it will end up in a thick forest that will be difficult to extinguish, firefighters told the Greek news agency ANA. Thick and suffocating smoke on Monday also enveloped the coastal region of Pefki, where hundreds of villagers had been evacuated by sea. Greece and neighboring Turkey have been battling the devastating fires for nearly 2 weeks as the region suffers its worst heat wave in decades. 2 people have been confirmed dead in Greece and 8 in Turkey, while dozens have been hospitalized.
Meanwhile, St. Mark's Square in Venice was underwater late on Saturday night. Take a look. Venice's St. Mark's Square was flooded twice over the weekend during high water levels known as Aqua Alta, which is unusual and out of season in the month of August. Now, per a Reuters report, Venice's high water incidents are caused by a combination of factors exacerbated by climate change, from rising sea levels and unusually high tides to land subsidence that has caused the ground level of the city to sink. Now, a long-delayed flood barrier was deployed for the first time last October, but it is only activated to block the most potentially damaging tides of more than 130 centimeters, and so did not enter into operation on Sunday.
Now, here in the country, poor households which are currently placed under enhanced community quarantine are set to receive ayuda or cash aid from the national government subsidy program on Wednesday. The ILG Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya said the 15-day distribution of cash aid in Metro Manila, which will start on Wednesday, may be extended to avoid overcrowding. Let's listen in.
Kailan ba ho talaga magsisimula? Kailan yung pinagkasunduan? At bagamat meron pong pinagkasunduan, paki-emphasize lang po na po pwede namang mauna yung iba at hindi na kinakailangan mag-antay doon sa petsang na pagkasunduan.
Doon na po na ibaba na yung pondo sa kanilang mga LGUs at pwede na po silang magsimula ng pamimigay. Doon po nila na magsimula sa Miyerkules. So sa Miyerkules po, imamonitor po yan ng DSWD at ng DILG ang actual na distribution ng mga ayuda sa ating mga kababayan sa National Capital Region. At base po doon sa ipinalabas na Joint Memorandum Circular ng DSWD, DILG at DND, meron pong 15 days ang ating mga LGUs na tapusin ang pamibigay ng ayuda. Doon po sa pinalabas na Joint Memorandum Circular, ang nakalagay lang po doon ay they determine the fastest and most efficient manner, and yung 15-day period po begins on the day that they decide they will start the distribution.
Roque also said he believes that there has not been an extraordinary delay in the distribution of cash aid in areas under ECQ. He also appealed to LGUs to distribute the cash aid at the soonest time possible. Laguna, Iloilo City, and Cagayan de Oro will be under ECQ until August 15. Metro Manila will be under ECQ until August 20, and Bataan will be under ECQ until August 22. Under the ECQ status, only essential establishments and industries such as hospitals, groceries, courier, and delivery services, among others, will be allowed to fully operate, while the movement of the general public will be limited. President Duterte declared ECQ in the 5 areas to prevent the spread of COVID cases amid the presence of the highly transmissible Delta COVID-19 variant.
In other news, the distribution of financial assistance in areas under enhanced community quarantine will experience delays due to the imposition of health protocols. Now, in the Malacanang press briefing today, Department of Social Welfare and Development Secretary Rolando Bautista asked for the public's understanding. Take a look.
Natin, Secretary Hari, talagang maraming challenges. Itong pagbibigay ng ayuda. Ito na yung sinasabi nating health protocols, yung mga limitasyon, no? Kung pagpunta ng tao, kung saan ibibigay ang mga ayuda. At siyempre, yung timeline din kasi, no? Yung timeline na yan, hindi natin pwedeng ipilit yan sa local na pamahalaan. Na kailangan on this day, ganitong beneficiaries ang maibigay mo, o kaya ganito dapat karami. Kinukonsider lahat yan ng ating mga lokal na pamahalaan. Kung sinasabi nating merong delay, isa siguro yung database doon po sa JMC, talagang binigay na po namin ang leeway ng list, no? So yung list na po yan, talagang manggagaling na po yan sa ating LGU dahil katulad na nabanggit ko kanina, Yung lista po yan ay ito po yung listahan na aktual na nabigyan ng ayuda noong last na nung naging NCR plus areas under ECQ. So sa tingin ko, yung magiging delay naman is reasonable dahil kinonsider po lahat yan ng ating lokal na pamahalaan.
Staying here in the country, President Duterte should not be blamed over people swarming in some COVID vaccination sites in Metro Manila last week. That according to Malacanang Today, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque denied a new criticism that President Duterte's order to police and barangay officials to escort unvaccinated individuals back to their homes caused an unexpected number of people to show up at vaccination centers. Let's listen in.
Konklusyon na lang po yan, Pia. Nung sinabi po yan ng Presidente, Lunes pa nung nakalipas na linggo, nagkaroon naman ng siksikan, Biyernes na. So wala pong kinalaman yung sinabi ni Presidente. No? So wag natin lagyan ng kulay yung mga sinabi ng Presidente. At saka hina-highlight po niya doon yung mga ayaw magpabakyuna na nasa A2 at A3. No? Malinaw po yan sa konteksto ng sinasabi ni Presidente. Ngayon, wala po tayong magagawa. Kung talagang lalagyan nyo ng kulay lahat ng sinasabi ni Presidente, talagang magkakaroon po yan ng kulay. Pero yung pag-uunahan po, Thursday na po yun. Lunes po na nagsalita ang Presidente. Kung talagang reaction po yan sa sinabi ni Presidente, dapat po yan nagsiksika na Tuesday pa lang o Wednesday, no? Pero hindi po nangyari yun, no? So sabi nga po nila, no, evidence, law is based on human experience. Unlikely po yung sinasabi natin. Meron po talagang mga nagsabotahe at ang pakiusap po natin, wala po kaming sinisisi, ha? Pero yung mga lokal na pamahalaan, wag naman kayo magbabaling ng pula sa ating Presidente. Dahil the bottom line is, katungkulan nyo pa rin na kayo magpatupad ng maayos at makataong pagbabakunahan. Wala pong pagkakamali ang ating Presidente sa kanyang pananalita. At kung paniniwalaan po natin ang mga surveys, no, the President remains to be the best communicator and the best positive communicator in the country today.
Now, reports show that an unexpected number of people swarmed in vaccination centers in Manila and Las Piñas last Thursday. According to the Philippine National Police, vaccine turnout in Manila was as high as 22,000 from the usual daily numbers of 1,000 to 2,000 per vaccination site.
The city government of Manila announced yesterday night that Vice Mayor Hani Lapuñapangan has tested positive for COVID-19. An official statement released by the Manila Public Information Office stated the vice mayor's test result came out Sunday afternoon. Despite taking extreme caution, I was not expecting to receive this sad result, Lapuñapangan, also a medical doctor, said in her official statement. She likewise reiterated the city government's call to strictly follow health and safety protocols. Public officials, usually out and about to perform their duties, have not been spared from contracting the deadly virus.
Staying in the country, police personnel deployed in different Metro Manila control points will use body-worn cameras, or BWCs, during the implementation of the enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila. That according to Philippine National Police Chief General Guillermo Eleazar today. Now, Eleazar said these body-worn cameras will serve as the constant reminder for them to be courteous at all times, and at the same time, their protection against claims and allegations of abuses. Eleazar said BWCs, or body-worn cameras, were distributed in various police units of the National Capital Region, or NCRPO, in May this year. On Monday, Eleazar personally supervised the command and control of the use of BWCs of policemen manning and supervising the quarantine control points that were set up at the boundaries of Metro Manila. The command center was at the Camp Crame in Quezon City, where technical experts of the PNP are receiving the live video feeds of the BWCs on the ground. The Supreme Court's rules on the use of BWCs in serving search and arrest warrants took effect also last month. And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal. Narito ang mga dapat tandaan sa panahon ng pagpapatupad ng enhanced community quarantine sa Metro Manila at iba pang lugar. Una, mas mahaba ang curfew mula alas 8 ng gabi hanggang alas 4 ng umaga. Pangalawa, epektibo ang liquor ban batay sa pinagtibay ng LGU. Pangatlo, dapat manatili muna sa bahay at bawal munang lumabas maliban sa mga authorized person outside residence. Pang-apat, bawal lumabas ang mga sumusunod: 18 years old pababa, 65 years old pataas, may mga immunodeficiency at comorbidity at mga buntis. Pang-lima, pinapayagan namang lumabas ang mga essential worker at essential travels. Pang-anim, bawal ang mass gathering. Pang-pito, pinapayagan ang funeral services subalit limitado lamang sa mga immediate family members. Pang-walo, namamalaging may public transportation subalit limitado ang capacity batay sa IATF guidelines. Pang-siyam, ang mga apor lamang ang pinapayagang makapagbiyahe papasok at palabas ng NCR Plus area.
Hey guys, kamusta po kayong lahat? Ako nga po pala si Daniel Paringit at abangan niyo po ako bilang isang guest performer sa hashtag Letters and Music. Ngayon po yung parating na linggo, August 15 from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. At syempre dito lamang po yan sa Net 25 kaya sana magkita-kita po tayo doon.
Welcome back to the news. Track and Field's governing body will remain adaptable when it revisits the global events calendar after Tokyo Olympics, widely regarded as one of the hottest on record. World Athletics President Sebastian Coe said Sunday. Let's listen in.
I was up in Sapporo. Look, they were difficult conditions. I think we were right to move the women's marathon on the decision on Friday night for the Saturday. The reality of it is, and I think this is the challenge we are all going to confront now, and it probably will mean a global discourse around the calendar and how we stage events, but it's becoming pretty clear to me whether you know, wherever you are in the world, and we could well be confronting the same temperatures in Paris in 2024.
Tokyo organizers had moved the race, walk events, and 2 marathons 800 kilometers north of Tokyo to Sapporo in the hope of cooler weather. That, however, did not materialize as the northern Hokkaido region battled a heat wave. Coe, who was head of the organizing committee for the highly successful 2012 London Olympics, ended by heaping praise on Tokyo officials for having gone ahead with the Games despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
Meanwhile, staying in Japan, the city of Nagasaki today commemorated the 76th anniversary of its destruction by a U.S. atomic bomb, with the mayor calling for the global community to build on a new nuclear ban treaty. For a second year, the number of people attending was much smaller due to the coronavirus restrictions. The ceremony is the first since an international treaty banning nuclear weapons came into force last year. The treaty has not been signed by countries with nuclear arsenals, but activists believe it will have a gradual deterrent effect. Nagasaki was flattened in an atomic inferno that killed 74,000 people 3 days after the nuclear bomb that hit Hiroshima. The twin attacks rang in the nuclear age and gave Japan the bleak distinction of being the only country to be struck by atomic weapons.
In other news, Israel set up rapid coronavirus testing stations across the country on Sunday. The Megan David Adam Emergency Service said as the government tries to stave off another pandemic lockdown. The testing centers are aimed at the non-vaccinated and those who have recovered from the virus and need a health pass. Results are received in 15 minutes. Since Sunday morning, unvaccinated people must present a negative COVID test less than 24 hours old, and health passes will be extended to children under 12 from August 20. Over the past week, Israel has been recording an average of more than 3,000 new coronavirus cases a day, the highest since April. The rise in infections is a step back after its world-leading vaccine campaign drove down new COVID-19 cases from 10,000 a day to fewer than 100. Tests at the new stations will cost 52 shekels or $16 and will enable those tested to receive a health ministry pass valid for 24 hours. Israel has now launched a campaign to provide a third booster dose of vaccine to the elderly and has also reinstated the health pass. Most COVID restrictions were lifted in early June, but some were reimposed last month following the resurgence of cases. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said Wednesday vaccinations and renewed restrictions could spare Israel another lockdown, even as coronavirus infections soar. Only people who have been fully vaccinated, cured of COVID-19, or with a negative PCR test taken less than 72 hours previously are allowed to enter places holding more than 100 people, indoors or outdoors.
Meanwhile, France today began enforcing a COVID pass championed by President Emmanuel Macron in cafes, restaurants and trains, a tightening of rules the government hopes will boost vaccinations, but which has prompted weeks of angry protests. Take a look. Now, the pass already needed for the last 3 weeks to go to a cinema, attend a concert or visit a museum will be needed to partake in usually routine aspects of life in France, such as sipping a coffee in a cafe or traveling on an intercity train. Almost 250,000 rallied nationwide on Saturday against this extension of the pass, the biggest in 4 consecutive weekends of protests. But President Macron has shown little patience with the demonstrators, concerns over vaccination or alleged erosion of civil liberties. The health pass is generated in a QR code, either by a full course of vaccinations, a recent negative virus test, or a recovery from COVID-19. The government expects a 1-week grace period for consumers and businesses to get used to these new rules. Transport Minister Jean-Baptiste Djebari said checks were being carried out on around a quarter of intercity trains on Monday, and President Macron hopes this plan will further accelerate the vaccination drive in France, where over 55% are now double jabbed.
Unmasked people packed Miami's Miami South Beach and Bayside Marketplace as the Delta variant of COVID-19 spreads rapidly in Florida, the U.S. state recording the most new cases of the coronavirus. Take a look.
Staying in the U.S., a woman who filed a criminal complaint against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said the politician needs to be held accountable. In an interview on CBS News that will be aired today, U.S. time, the accuser, who was formerly referred to as Executive Assistant Number 1, says the governor assaulted her at his executive mansion last year. Take a look.
Why did you file that criminal complaint with the sheriff's office?
It was the right thing to do. The governor needs to be held accountable.
And just so I'm clear again, being held accountable to you means seeing the governor charged with a crime.
What he did to me was a crime. He broke the law.
I do banter with people. I do tell jokes, some better than others. I am the same person in public as I am in private.
Now, her allegation formed part of an explosive report released this week that said Governor Cuomo sexually harassed 11 former and current state employees.
Once again, the Taliban seized a 6th Afghan provincial capital on Monday following a weekend blitz across the north that saw urban centers fall in quick succession and the government struggle to keep the militants at bay. Now the insurgents...
Now, the insurgents entered Ibak without a fight after community elders pleaded with officials to spare the city from more violence following weeks of clashes on the outskirts, according to Sefatullah Samangani, the deputy governor of Samangan province. The insurgents have overrun 5 provincial capitals across the north, sparking fears the government is rapidly losing control of the region. They have also taken Saranj, capital of Nimros province in the southwest. Earlier Monday, the Taliban said they were moving in on Mazar-1 Sharif, the largest, or Mazar-e Sharif, rather, the largest city in the north and the linchpin for the government's control of the region, after capturing Sherer-Bergan to its west and Kunduz and Talokan to its east. Fighting in Afghanistan's long-running conflict has escalated dramatically since May, when the U.S.-led military coalition began the final stage of a withdrawal set to be completed before the end of this month. The withdrawal of foreign forces is due to finish at the end of this month, ahead of the 20th anniversary of the September 11 attacks. The U.S.-led invasion, sparked by 9/11, toppled by the first Taliban regime in 2001. And we'll be back with more news right after this break. Stay tuned.
Protect yourself and loved ones. Use Protect Plus Gold, a broad-spectrum disinfectant that kills 500 strains of bacteria, fungi, and viruses such as coronavirus and other disease-causing microorganisms. Also potent against viruses in pets. It kills 99.9% of disease-causing germs and works in 10 minutes. Dissolve 1 teaspoon in 1 liter of water. Apply on areas for disinfection or use it for misting. Protect Plus Gold.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon, hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
Narito ang mga dapat tandaan sa panahon ng pagpapatupad ng enhanced community quarantine sa Metro Manila at iba pang lugar. Una, mas mahaba ang curfew mula alas 8 ng gabi hanggang alas 4 ng umaga. Pangalawa, epektibo ang liquor ban batay sa pinagtibay ng LGU. Pangatlo, dapat manatili muna sa bahay at bawal munang lumabas maliban sa mga authorized person outside residence. Pang-apat, bawal lumabas ang mga sumusunod: 18 years old pababa, 65 years old pataas, may mga immunodeficiency at comorbidity at mga buntis. Pang-lima, pinapayagan namang lumabas ang mga essential worker at essential travels. Pang-anim, bawal ang mass gathering. Pang-pito, pinapayagan ang funeral services subalit limitado lamang sa mga immediate family members. Pang-walo, namamalaging may public transportation subalit limitado ang capacity batay sa IATF guidelines. Pang-siyam, ang mga apor lamang ang pinapayagang makapagbiyahe papasok at palabas ng NCR Plus area.
Welcome back. The Department of Trade and Industry has urged micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MISMES, to embrace digital transformation amid the new normal. At the virtual event of Small Business Corporation today, DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez said adopting digitalization will help businesses and the country to recover from the pandemic. Take a look.
For many, this also involves a pivot from offline or face-to-face transactions to online transactions. We'd like to cite the example of SP Corp in understanding the importance of digital adoption. They digitalized their loan application so that they could still serve our micro SMEs despite the pandemic and the limitations in mobility brought about by lockdowns. And it is not only in terms of online application, but up to the loan release process. This has tremendously cut the red tape and the long period by which the loan is released before to the borrowers through physical checks. Moreover, they've been providing support to their borrowers to strengthen their businesses in their pivot to digitalization. But even as the pandemic has catalyzed the rapid acceleration of our country's digital transformation, our developing digital economy will also become the source of Philippines' productivity growth and recovery from the pandemic. As President Rodrigo Roa Duterte has said, the Philippines wants to be an active participant in the global digital economy, end of quote. More importantly, the promotion of financial technology and digitalization will
The New York Auto Show pulled the plug on its 2021 edition on Wednesday, citing the uptick in COVID-19 cases and new government measures to limit the outbreak. The gathering, scheduled for late August, was to be one of the first major trade shows at New York's Javits Center and now becomes among the first to fall victim to the fast-spreading Delta variant of the coronavirus. In a statement, it was said it is with great disappointment that the upcoming 2021 New York International Automobile Show at the Jacob Javits Convention Center has been canceled due to the growing incidence of the COVID-19 Delta variant and the increased measures announced recently by state and local officials to stop its spread. That according to Mark Scheinberg, the event's president, in a statement. The 121-year-old show, which is normally held in the spring, was pushed back due to the pandemic and rescheduled for August 20 to 29. Scheinberg cited developments on COVID-19 over the past few weeks and especially within the last few days as the impetus for the cancellation. Eagle News will be back with more stories. Please don't go away.
Totoo ang kasabihang may pera sa basura, lalo na kung magagawa ang iba't ibang bagay mula sa mga recyclable material na inaakala ng iba na itatapon na. May ilang barangay sa bansa ang nagre-recycle ng basura at makikita ang iba't ibang bagay na gawa sa basura. Mga dekorasyon sa bahay, sa mga proyektong ito, nagiging malinis ang kapaligiran bukod sa mayroon pang pagkakakitaan.
Tayong mga Filipino, likas na palabati. Sanay rin tayong makipagkamay. Pero dahil na rin sa COVID pandemic, isinusulong ang pagbati na hindi na kailangan pang makipagkamay. Ang pambansang pagbati. Ito ay ang pagdampi ng kanang palad sa gitnang bahagi ng dibdib, kasabay ng bahagyang pagyukod ng ulo o paibabang tingin at pagsambit ng mga salitang nagpapahayag ng pagbati, paggalang o pagpupugay. Pagkatapos nito ay ang pag-angat ng ulo ng nakangiti at nakatingin sa mata ng binabati. Pambansang pagbati, pagpapakita ng paggalang, kababaang loob at pagiging sensero nating mga Filipino.
Welcome back. The Philippines became the best performing ASEAN country in the Tokyo Olympics. The 19-man Philippine team collected 1 gold, 2 silvers, and 1 bronze medal in the 2-week conclave to share the 50th place with Slovakia in the overall medal standings. Take a look.
Sa pagtatapos po ng Tokyo Olympics, ang Pilipinas ang officially the best performing country sa buong Southeast Asia. 1 gold, 2 silver at 1 bronze ang nasungkit ng ating mga atleta. Nagpapasalamat tayo sa lahat ng mga atleta, sa kanilang coaches, trainers at mentors at sa sambayanang Pilipino sa kanilang walang sawang suporta. Narating natin ang best Olympic performance ng Pilipinas in history. Let us seize this moment and sustain the momentum in Paris 2024.
Now, veteran weightlifter Heidi Diaz ended the country's 97 years of waiting for the first Olympic gold after winning it all in the women's weightlifting event, while the boxing team amassed the bulk of the medals. 2 silvers from Paalam and Nesty Peted is the world record as the largest flag ever flown. It's almost the size of a football field, and the Partriel Acrobatic de France conducted a flyover that displayed the country's flag in the sky.
And finally, in our news, the handover event took took viewers out of this world, literally. Aboard the International Space Station, French astronaut Thomas Pesquet tweeted that he and Japanese astronaut Akihiko Hoshide held their own Olympic handover and displayed the Olympic flag together. Take a look.
There you go, Paris 2024. Yes.
So they had those flags with them when they flew out.
I know.
Well,
they had
really
it with them
planned
even
that.
before. Yeah, they were expecting it.
Well, that's it for tonight's broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm CJ Hero. Please join us again tomorrow.
And at the end of the day, there remains so much more to be grateful for. We'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
This program is supported by Protect Plus Gold, a broad-spectrum disinfectant, kills 99.9% of disease-causing germs and works in 10 minutes.
It's time